The stars had always been silent. For centuries, humanity scanned the cosmos, listening, searching for a sign, any sign, that they were not alone. When the signal finally came, a faint burst of data from a nearby system known as Epsilon Eridani, the world held its breath. This was it, the first contact. But the moment was fleeting. The message was cryptic, a staccato of strange symbols that no one could decipher. Attempts to respond went unanswered. Then, without warning, all communication ceased. The alien presence went silent. Months passed. The silence gnawed at humanity's hope and fear in equal measure. Scientists debated, diplomats speculated, and militaries prepared, just in case. When the silence stretched into a year, a grim consensus took hold. The first contact had failed. Until the day the battleships appeared, it began with a shadow on the edge of the solar system, a fleet unlike any humanity had ever seen. Massive warships, sleek and angular, bearing an intimidating presence that darkened the void itself. They did not broadcast greetings. They did not offer explanations. Instead, they loomed in orbit around Mars, their sensors sweeping across Earth like a predator eyeing its prey. At the United Earth Command headquarters in New Geneva, Admiral Lena Ortiz stared at the live feed from orbital sensors, her jaw clenched tight. "They've arrived with weapons ready," her tactical officer reported. "No attempts at peaceful communication." Ortiz exhaled slowly. First contact failed. Second contact brought battleships. The words echoed in the war room. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer alone, and the newcomers were prepared for war. Earth's governments scrambled to respond. Diplomatic channels, once hopeful, turned tense and urgent. Military forces worldwide mobilized in anticipation. For the first time in recorded history, humanity faced an existential threat that could not be ignored. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship of the alien fleet, the colossal Varkoth, Captain Tharkesh observed Earth's reaction with a cold, calculating gaze. "Prepare to deploy ground forces," the alien commander ordered. "Their primitive defenses will crumble. This world is ripe for conquest." The Varkoth's massive engines flared, and the invasion began. Back on Earth, Admiral Ortiz rallied her fleet. "We do not know their intent," she said, "but we will not go quietly into the night. Ready every vessel. Today, we fight not just for survival, but for humanity's place among the stars." As the alien battleships closed in, humanity's own armada surged forward, small, battered, but fiercely determined. The void was about to ignite with the fire of the war. The alien fleet had settled into orbit around Earth's moon, a menacing silhouette against the pale crescent hanging in the blackness of space. Their ships were enormous, armed with weapons that defied humanity's understanding. Plasma cannons that could vaporize entire cruisers, shields that absorbed impacts that would shatter Earth's strongest battleships. Yet despite their overwhelming power, the humans prepared to fight. Admiral Lena Ortiz stood on the bridge of the USS Sovereign, the flagship of Earth's fleet. Around her, the crew bustled, every sensor and console alive with data, every officer primed for battle. "Status report," Ortiz commanded. Lieutenant Commander Rajesh Patel, the tactical officer, glanced at his displays. "The Varkoth-class ships have superior firepower and shielding. Our estimates suggest their weapons have a range advantage of at least 30%. They're toying with us, probing our defenses." Ortiz's lips pressed into a thin line. "We need to exploit any weaknesses. Any of the Council of Earth had authorized the deployment of every available warship, old and new, to hold the line. It was a ragtag armada composed of retrofitted cargo vessels, hastily converted defense platforms, and the last generation of space battleships. But what they lacked in technology, they made up for with resolve. The message was clear: humanity would not surrender." Meanwhile, on the Varkoth, Captain Tharkesh studied the planet below with disdain. "They are brave, but foolish," he muttered to his second-in-command lieutenant. "Kyle, they cling to hope and outdated tactics. They will break." Kyle nodded, fingers dancing over his console. "The ground forces await your command." Tharkesh's eyes gleamed with cold intent. "Soon, but first, we shall crush their fleets in orbit. Let them see what true power means." The first skirmish erupted over the Pacific Ocean, a vast expanse that soon became a battleground as fleets clashed in the void. Human fighters screamed out of Earth's atmosphere, swarming the alien ships with reckless courage. Their plasma torpedoes and missile volleys were often shot down or absorbed, but a few found purchase, cracking the hulls of smaller enemy vessels. "Fighter Squadron Alpha reporting," a voice crackled over comms. "We've downed 2 enemy escorts but are heavily damaged, requesting immediate support." Captain Ortiz clenched her fists. "All squadrons maintain pressure, draw their fire and create openings for the capital ships." The USS Sovereign surged forward, unleashing its own salvo of quantum disruptors and railguns. The blast tore into the side of an alien cruiser, sending a massive fireball blossoming into space. Cheers rippled through the crew, but Ortiz remained vigilant. "We've bought time," she said, "but the real fight is just beginning." Back on the ground, humanity's scientists scrambled to analyze the alien technology captured from reconnaissance drones. Dr. Elena Morozov, chief engineer of Earth's Defense Research Initiative, was determined to find a way to counter the seemingly invincible enemy shields. "Traditional weapons aren't working," she explained to her team. "We need a new approach, something they aren't prepared for." Her breakthrough came when she noticed a pattern. The alien shields fluctuated slightly with a unique energy signature. It wasn't perfect, but if they could amplify the right frequency, they might overload the shields, if only for a moment. In orbit, the battle continued to escalate. Alien capital ships unleashed devastating plasma storms, tearing apart human frigates with terrifying ease. The Sovereign took multiple hits, its shields flickering dangerously. Ortiz's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed exhaustion. "Evasive maneuvers, divert power to forward shields, keep the fighters up." Then, a spark of hope. Scientists on Earth transmitted a modified weapon frequency to the fleet, an experimental pulse designed to exploit the alien shield's weakness. "Attempting shield overload now," Lieutenant Patel announced. The Sovereign fired its disruptor cannon with a new frequency. For a split second, the alien ship's shields shimmered and then collapsed. Plasma blasts ripped through the exposed hull, crippling the vessel. The fleet erupted in cheers as several ships followed suit, targeting others with the modified pulse. Tharkesh's rage was palpable. "They have found our weakness," he growled. "Bring everything to bear, destroy them before they adapt." But the damage was done. The tide had shifted, and humanity's tenacity combined with ingenuity had cracked the alien armor. As the sun rose over Earth's horizon, the battle still raged, but now the humans fought with renewed hope. Admiral Ortiz looked out from the bridge, the blue planet spinning silently below. "We may be outgunned, but we will never be outwilled." The war was far from over, but humanity had shown that when the stars fell silent once, they came back with battleships, and they fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The battle raging above Earth was only the prelude. The true test was about to begin on the planet itself. As alien dropships tore through Earth's atmosphere, cities braced for impact. The Varkoth's war machine was vast, landing legions of soldiers, towering war beasts, and mechanized walkers in the sprawling plains of the American Midwest. The skies above Detroit were ablaze, the city transformed from an industrial hub into a battlefield. Admiral Lena Ortiz watched the invasion unfold from the USS Sovereign's command deck, her expression hardening. "They're hitting Detroit hard," she muttered. "We expected a space war, but they want to conquer our ground." Her tactical officer nodded grimly. "Our orbital support is stretched thin. We're holding, but barely." On the ground, Captain Marcus Kane led the 7th Infantry Battalion, known as the Steel Wolves, through the rubble-strewn streets of Detroit. A veteran of countless conflicts, Kane had never seen destruction on this scale. The alien forces were relentless, but humanity was fiercer. "Hold the line," Kane barked through the comms as plasma blasts scorched the air, turning concrete to dust. "They may have firepower, but we have home advantage." His soldiers ducked behind overturned vehicles and makeshift barricades, firing everything from rail rifles to improvised explosives. They had no illusions. This was a fight for survival. The aliens, with their biomechanical armor and devastating weaponry, advanced in waves. Their towering war beasts stomped through buildings, while mechanized walkers unleashed torrents of plasma. The humans responded with guerrilla tactics, setting traps, exploiting the city's ruins to their advantage. Meanwhile, Dr. Elena Morozov and her team rushed to deploy a newly designed electromagnetic pulse EMP device, hoping to disrupt the invaders' technology on the battlefield. "We only get one shot," she told the engineers. "If this works, it could turn the tide here." As the alien forces prepared to breach a key command bunker, the EMP device activated. A massive wave of electromagnetic energy pulsed through the air, sending sparks flying from alien weapons and disabling their walkers temporarily. The humans surged forward, exploiting the window. Captain Kane led a counterattack that pushed the invaders back, reclaiming critical ground. But the victory was costly. The city lay in ruins, and the alien forces were adapting fast. New squads deployed shield generators and enhanced armour, resisting EMP blasts. Back aboard the USS Sovereign, Admiral Ortiz received troubling news. The Council's fleet in orbit has regrouped. They're launching a full-scale assault on our positions. Ortiz's jaw tightened. "We must hold Detroit at all costs. If the city falls, so does Earth." With the alien fleet pressing down from orbit and their forces on the ground, humanity's defense was stretched to breaking point. But the spirit of Detroit, of humanity, refused to break. In a desperate gamble, Kane coordinated with Earth's resistance cells across the globe, calling for an all-out uprising. Fight smart, fight together, fight like your lives depend on it, because they do. As the sun set behind the shattered skyline, the fires of rebellion burned bright. Humanity's fight for Earth had only just begun. The city of Detroit burned like a furnace beneath a sky darkened with smoke and the relentless bombardment of alien fire. Streets once humming with life were now choked with rubble, shattered vehicles, and the echoes of distant explosions. Yet amid the chaos, humanity's defiance roared louder than the plasma blast that tore through its shattered buildings. Captain Marcus Kane stood on the rooftop of a collapsed skyscraper overlooking the battlefield below. His Steel Wolves battalion was battered, but still holding. His voice was hoarse, his face streaked with soot and sweat, yet the fire in his eyes burned bright. "We don't just fight to survive," he told his troops. "We fight to reclaim our home. Every street, every block is ours to defend. They came for Earth, but they're going to find out Detroit isn't just another city. It's a fortress." On the horizon, the alien command ship Varkoth hung like a spectre, its dark hull reflecting the fiery chaos below. Captain Tharkesh watched the unfolding war through his command viewport, his face unreadable. "The humans are resilient," he said quietly to his Lieutenant Kyle, who stood by. "But resilience is not enough. We must crush their spirit before they rally." Kyle nodded. "They've shown unexpected tenacity, but our reinforcements arrive soon. The tide will turn." Back in orbit, Admiral Lena Ortiz coordinated the desperate defense. The USS Sovereign and remaining fleet elements engaged the Council's warships in a brutal, grinding fight. Plasma beams slashed through the void, flares of missile barrages illuminated the darkness, and ships groaned as they absorbed or delivered punishing blows. "Status report!" Ortiz barked. Lieutenant Commander Patel's fingers flew across his console. "Enemy capital ships are adapting to our disruptor pulses. We're sustaining heavy losses, but they're retreating slowly." Ortiz's lips pressed thin. "Keep pressure on them. Our ground forces need time." As the battle in space raged, a new front opened on the ground. The aliens began deploying their bioengineered war beasts, gigantic armoured creatures that crushed human barricades and devoured everything in their path. Their acidic saliva burned through steel and flesh alike. Captain Kane watched as one of the beasts tore through an armoured personnel carrier, scattering soldiers. The Steel Wolves fought back with everything they had: rocket launchers, plasma grenades, improvised mines, but the creatures seemed unstoppable. "We need something bigger," Kane muttered. At Earth's Defense Research Initiative, Dr. Elena Morozov and her team raced against time. Their latest project, codenamed Prometheus, was a prototype particle cannon designed to punch through the alien armour and disrupt their biology. But it was still untested and dangerous. "We have one chance to deploy Prometheus," Elena explained to her supervisors. "If it fails, it could backfire and cause more damage to us." The military brass made the call. The weapon was to be airlifted to Detroit and used in the thick of battle. As the prototype cannon arrived in the city, Kane's unit prepared for a final, desperate push against the biobeasts advancing toward their stronghold. "Elena, you're with us," Kane ordered. "We need that cannon deployed now." Elena nodded, gripping the weapon's controls. Let's light their fire. The Prometheus cannon roared to life, emitting a searing beam that struck the largest warbeast square in the chest. The creature screamed, a horrible guttural sound, and collapsed, convulsing as its biological systems shut down. Other beasts hesitated, confused by the sudden loss of their alpha. Seizing the moment, Kane rallied his troops for an aggressive counterattack. The steel wolves charged, their weapons blazing, pushing the alien forces back block by block. However, victory was fleeting. From the shadows emerged a new threat. Alien commanders mounted on heavily armoured warbeasts, directing troops and coordinating attacks with terrifying efficiency. Kane's squad fought valiantly, but were pushed back under the relentless onslaught. The city seemed on the verge of collapse. Meanwhile, in orbit, the battle reached a critical turning point. The Sovereign sustained critical damage, systems failing one by one. Admiral Ortiz knew they could not hold much longer. "We need a miracle," she whispered to herself. Then a sudden transmission crackled through comms, a signal from an unexpected source. "We come in peace," the voice said, but it was unlike any human or council language. It was calm, measured, and strangely familiar. Ortiz's heart pounded. Could this be an ally? Another species watching the war, waiting for the right moment? The message continued, translated by the fleet's linguists. "We are the Aerin, observers of the galaxy. We have watched your fight and judged your spirit worthy. We will aid humanity against those who threaten the balance." Within moments, massive Aerin dreadnoughts slipped into the battlefield, their weapons firing with precision that shattered alien warships and disrupted their command networks. The tide of the battle shifted dramatically. On the ground, Kane's troops felt the difference as alien reinforcements faltered, their coordination unravelling. The warbeasts hesitated. Alien commanders shouted orders that went unheeded. Captain Tharkesh snarled in frustration. "This changes nothing. We will adapt and crush them all." But the battle was lost. The combined might of humanity and the Aerin tore through the alien forces, pushing them back into retreat. As the dust settled, Kane looked at the shattered city around him and felt a flicker of hope. "We survived," he said softly. "But the war is far from over." Admiral Ortiz's voice came over the comms, steady and resolute. "To humanity and our new allies, this fight is not just for Earth. It is for every world that stands for freedom." The stars above no longer seemed so silent. The firestorm rising from Detroit was the spark that would ignite a new chapter in humanity's place in the cosmos. The alien fleet's retreat was swift but chaotic. The towering warbeasts, once feared as unstoppable juggernauts, now stumbled and faltered without the careful command of their leaders. The once formidable Varkoth-class ships withdrew into the shadows of deep space, nursing their wounds, but the message was clear. Earth had survived the first true assault. In the wake of the battle, Detroit lay in ruins, smouldering, battered, but unbowed. Captain Marcus Kane stood amidst the wreckage of what was once the city's heart, watching the first rays of dawn pierce the smoky haze. The smell of ash and scorched metal hung heavy in the air, but so did the unmistakable scent of victory. "We fought the impossible," Kane said quietly to his remaining soldiers, "and we won. But this is only the beginning." Back in orbit, the USS Sovereign floated battered but intact. Admiral Lena Ortiz surveyed the damage, her mind racing with plans for the future. The fleet had paid dearly, but they had held the line against a power that had once seemed invincible. "Admiral," her communications officer interrupted, "another transmission from the Aerin. They request a council meeting." Ortiz nodded. "Put it through." The holographic projection flickered to life, revealing a tall, ethereal figure, an Aerin envoy, their translucent skin shimmering with a soft blue glow, eyes deep pools of knowledge and ancient wisdom. "Admiral Ortiz," the envoy began, voice calm and resonant, "your people have proven your resilience and courage. The Aerin have watched civilizations rise and fall across the stars, and few have shown such indomitable spirit." Ortiz met the envoy's gaze steadily. "We did what we had to do, but we're not warriors by nature. We want peace." The envoy nodded. "Peace is the foundation of the Aerin, but peace often demands strength to defend it. We offer you alliance and knowledge, technology beyond your current reach, strategies to counter your enemies, and a place among the galactic community." The offer was unprecedented. Humanity had long dreamed of making contact with other species, but the reality of such alliances was daunting. Yet the war had changed everything. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Elena Morozov's research center was already abuzz with new energy. The Aeron technology brought breakthroughs that would accelerate humanity's defense capabilities exponentially. Imagine, Elena told her team, shields that adapt in real time, propulsion systems that bend space, weapons that don't just destroy but neutralize. We've only scratched the surface. Her voice was filled with cautious optimism. The war had forced humanity into an evolution it never expected, and now the horizon promised a new era. However, peace was still fragile. The Council, the alien empire that had launched the invasion, was regrouping. Intelligence reports indicated their forces were consolidating on the edge of known space, preparing for a second, larger assault. Admiral Ortiz convened a meeting with Earth's leaders and the Aeron envoys. The Council will come again, Ortiz warned, but this time we will be ready, together. A hushed silence followed her words. For the first time, the fragmented factions of Earth, united by crisis and hope, were forming a plan, not just to survive, but to defend their place in the stars. In the days that followed, humanity began to rebuild. Detroit was a symbol of defiance, resilience, and the unyielding human spirit. Everywhere, people rallied to the cause. Engineers, scientists, soldiers, civilians, all working toward a common goal. Captain Kane returned to his battalion, now part of an integrated Earth-Aeron task force. Together they trained, combining human ingenuity with Aeron technology and tactics. The war beasts and alien commanders that had once inspired terror were now studied, their weaknesses exploited, their threats diminished. One evening, as Kane stood looking at the stars, a message from Admiral Ortiz came through. "Marcus, we've received intelligence about a Council forward base near Proxima Centauri. It's heavily fortified but vulnerable. We have the chance to strike first." Kane felt a surge of determination. "Understood, Admiral. Let's bring the fight to them." Across the galaxy, humanity's journey had only just begun. The war that had threatened to extinguish their light had instead ignited it, an unquenchable flame that would burn across the cosmos. In a secure conference room aboard the USS Sovereign, Ortiz addressed her officers. "This war is not just about survival. It's about claiming our place among the stars. The Council thought us primitive and weak. They were wrong. We are human, adaptive, fierce, and united." Her gaze swept across the room. "Prepare for the counteroffensive. We strike at Proxima Centauri. We show them that humanity will never bow." As preparations commenced, the stars seemed less cold, less indifferent. They were alive with possibility, challenges, and the promise of new alliances forged in the crucible of war. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the Council's forces prepared for the inevitable clash, unaware that the once primitive humans they had sought to crush were now poised to change the balance of power forever.